A second stimulus check for SSDI, SSI, and Social Security recipients could be larger than initially thought. Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check update for today. Hope you are good and safe. This is our second stimulus check update about SSDI, SSI, and Social Security recipients and everyone else. And it's about the check itself. Later today we have 4 other second stimulus check updates. The second one is about hazard pay. The third is about unemployment benefits, PUA, FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government, and PUA. Our fourth is about rental assistance, a grant program that is in the works. And finally, EIDL, that grant and loan program from the SBA. But let's get right to this video. And this one's going to focus on the amount of the check. This week we've been covering a lot of details about what a second stimulus check plan would deliver to SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and similar type individuals. We've gone over eligibility, we've gone over the manner of delivery, but this video is going to focus on the check itself and the amount and when you would likely get it. Let's do the last one, when you would likely get it. Minutes ago, a new report was released in a print edition of a major news publication, which confirms what this channel has been reporting for over a week, that the second stimulus check will be approved no later than around August 8th. The issue is how soon it could get routed to you, and I get that in the comments a lot. The likely date of it being routed to you is late August, early September. It depends on the manner of delivery. Now let's get to the amount itself, which a lot of you have been asking and I've been covering. This is really where we're at. The HEROES Act, which landed in the Senate from the House, a Democratic bill, proposes one thing. The White House proposes another. Mitch Mcconnell proposes a third. And then other Democrats propose a fourth. In essence, there is a lot still on the table. And I want you to understand that the dynamics of where we are between Republicans and Democrats is that everything is on the table. Someone dropped in the comments yesterday, the day before, that the HEROES Act is really the only thing that's going on. No, that is totally untrue. That is totally untrue. We know that's untrue because Steve Mnuchin testified before before members of Congress. He is the Treasury Secretary just days ago, and he said, no, everything is on the table. Everything is on the table. So let's get to the amount of money. What are the current proposals on the table and what is likely to land in your bank account? What is likely to land in your bank account is about $2,000 or more. I'll tell you why. The HEROES Act, the bill that was approved by the Democrats that landed in the Senate weeks ago, proposes to give you a single $1,200 check, even if you're on SSDI, SSI, or Social Security. It actually says in the HEROES Act that you're going to get it. So there's no question about the fact that you're going to get the check if you're on SSDI, SSI. That was then. That was back in May. Just this week, the president said no, he wants to give a lot more money. Well, what is a lot more money? It's at least $2,000. So the president wants to make very clear to the American public that from his standpoint, from his position, he does not think that the Democrats are giving you enough money. It's quite great news. He's basically moving the ball the other direction in favor of more money for you. How far could the ball be moved? That's the next question. Well, the Democrats initially considered 6 $2,000 checks, $12,000, or as otherwise said, one check for $2,000 every 6 months until the pandemic improves or goes away, or unemployment drops, whichever is later. That is the furthest point on the ball, $12,000. So you have the smallest amount, $1,200. You have the president saying $1,200 is not enough. He wants to give you a lot more, which is probably around $2,000 one time. And then you have the furthest point, which is $12,000 at least. You have nestled in there a lot of other things. What do you have? Well, you have Mitch McConnell, who is head of the Senate, the Republican majority of the Senate, who really is on the opposite of what the president's position is. I really am not going to focus too much on Mitch McConnell anymore because it's clear that really very few Republicans support his position, which is not to really give a stimulus check, not to support anyone, not to help anyone while he sits back on his mansion in Kentucky. That's really not the position of the Senate at the moment. It's the position of Mitch McConnell as of April. What else you have on the table is the following, and this is very important to understand. Every single member of the Senate is going to remember what I'm about to tell you right now. When the CARES Act was passed in March for the first stimulus check, the initial draft of the CARES Act called for multiple stimulus checks consecutive months while the lockdown was going on. It actually was written in the draft. It said for March, you'll get a March check. For April, you'll get an April check. For May, you'll get a May check. Marco Rubio, who, as you know, is the senator out of Florida, he's a Republican. He actually wrote and called for, at the time, multiple checks. So both sides of the party, of the political spectrum, both Democrats and Republicans, were calling for multiple checks based upon how many months you were on lockdown back in the spring. So what happened? Well, when the CARES Act was approved, both parties said, hey, we will get to this later, and we'll just give you one check for now, and we will get to it later. Well, they didn't get to it later. They went on vacation, as they are now, and they went on another vacation. And they keep on going on vacations. They're going on a vacation all the way to late July. And then they're coming back and working on this and getting it done during a very, very tight frame of time, late July to August 8th. And then they go on another vacation. So ultimately, while you have sat around and struggled and not had money to pay your rent, your utilities, your bills, these members of Congress keep on taking vacations. So what should you expect? How much should you expect? And when should you receive it? If you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, or anything else like that, you will get a second stimulus check. The question is how much and how many. The current microcosm, the current consensus looks like at least one check, and at least a check far more than $1,200. So that is where we are at the moment. Things can change very rapidly because everything is on the table. Let me go over something that is very important, and I hope you're still staying with me, because if you're on SSDI, SSI, or Social Security, you need to listen to this. There are certain people who may not get a second stimulus check if they're on Social Security, SSDI, or railroad benefits. And then there's some people that will get it but have to do another step. You see, I'm here to really help you and help you understand where everything falls. So first, which people would not get the check? Here's the answer. The HEROES Act, remember that one that came from the Senate, from the House to the Senate, written by the Democrats? The HEROES Act says to pay a second stimulus check to people who are dependents on someone else's tax return, provided that there is only 3 dependents on that tax return. What does that mean? Well, I covered this yesterday. This is really quite troubling. If you are elderly and you have a daughter and you appear on your daughter's tax return as a dependent, you will get a second stimulus check, even if you're on SSDI, even if you're on Social Security, even if you're on SSI. But there's one scenario in which you won't. Up to 3 dependents on one tax return. So if your daughter has you, your sister, your brother, and your other brother all on her tax return. There's 4 of you. You're all sisters and brothers. You're all elderly. You're all in your 80s. The proposal as written in the HEROES Act says that your daughter's tax return may only have 3 dependents that the second stimulus checks go to. So you need to know if you are on someone's tax return as a dependent. If you aren't, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Someone dropped in the comments. I'm not on someone's tax return. I am on Social Security. I am on SSI, but I'm not on someone's tax return. I'm not a dependent. Great. You have no problem. You're going to get the second stimulus check. I'm worried about people who are on someone else's tax return as a dependent. If you are, you need to know how many people are listed on that tax return as dependents. If there is more than 3, you're in trouble because one of them won't get a second stimulus check. Here's the problem, and I'm going to give you a very, very common problem. Let's say your daughter has 3 wonderful, adorable children, and they're very young. They're 2, 3, 4, 5, and she also has you. She lists all 4 of you on her tax return as dependents. Bam. There's going to be a problem because ultimately certain people, now I have to qualify, it depends on the daughter's ages, of course, but that you have a problem because only 3 dependents get the second stimulus check. So that's the first thing to know. And it's a very, very finite scenario. You know how you fix it? I mean, I really shouldn't do this right now, but I'm going to throw it right in. You know how you fix it is if you think that you're on someone's tax return and there's too many dependents, get on someone else's tax return. If you're on your daughter's, get on your son's tax return. If he has no dependents, get on your son's tax return as his dependent so that you get your second stimulus check. It is totally lawful. It just, it's the way that the HEROES Act is written. Of course, the HEROES Act may not be the law. It may be gutted by the Republicans. The next scenario is not a grounds for you not to get a second stimulus check. You will get a second stimulus check in the next scenario, but you may have to do something else. If you are newly on Social Security this year, this is the scenario, so please listen up. If this year you just went on to Social Security, or if this year you just went on SSDI, SSI, or railroad benefits, and have not filed a 2019 tax return, which, as you know, you now have to file by July, and for some reason you don't do it by July, then you may have to do another step to provide the IRS your address and your name. This may not be a problem going forward into middle July because hopefully all of you will get your tax returns on file and the IRS will know where you are and you won't have to do this other step. But under the CARES Act, this was a problem. Back in March, the March first stimulus check, people who were newly on Social Security this year, the people who were newly on SSDI or SSI this year had to do that extra step because the IRS didn't know where you were. There's another step, there's another scenario, and this is a little bit unusual. It is called Payee or Signatory benefits. If you're on SSDI or SSI and the check doesn't come to you but comes to a representative, a signatory or a payee, they call it different things. And you know this is the scenario. You either get your you either get your check yourself, or it goes to someone else and they give it to you and they give you the funds. Then the second stimulus check would go to that other person. That other person may also have your first stimulus check. So that's the other scenario you need to watch out for. There is one last scenario which I don't think is going to really be, I mean, it's so rare a situation. This is a situation in which you would not get a check, but it's so rare. This is if you're on Social Security and for some reason you're just financially well off and you make still, even on Social Security, over $99,000 a year because you have a lot of stocks, you have a lot of property, you have something that makes you a lot of money even though you're retired. You would not get a second stimulus check. That is under the HEROES Act. So the HEROES Act does not pay a second stimulus check if you have gross income over $99,000 or you're a non-resident alien. That's the way it's clearly written. So there you go. A lot of interesting details. How soon would the money come, and when would it come? Well, I mean, ultimately, this is going to depend on the manner of delivery. And earlier this week, this channel has detailed, and we're going to stay with you, the importance of having everything teed up for a bank account, for direct deposit, for ensuring the address that you normally get your benefits is not changed. Under the CARES Act, this is what happened. Under the CARES Act, the checks were delivered to the address that IRS has. So going into the second stimulus check, this is the manner of delivery that is currently on the table, but can certainly change. If you receive SSDI, SSI, railroad benefits, or Social Security by paper check, the second stimulus check would come by paper check. If you receive it by direct deposit, it would come by direct deposit. If you receive it by debit card, it would come by debit card. And it would come to the address that you have on file. So please do not mess up or change your address in the next 60 days. I mean, this is really not a time to be changing addresses. And if you are, I mean, I'm giving you fair warning, there's going to be a problem with that second stimulus check getting to you. There are certain things that I'm going to be detailing in the second stimulus check videos today about timing. A lot of things are coming due in the next 6 weeks, and this is not a time to be moving addresses, to be moving bank accounts, to be moving things if you're waiting for that second stimulus check. Bottom line, if you're on SSDI, SSI, and Social Security or railroad benefits, you are eligible for a second stimulus check under the HEROES Act. You will get a second stimulus check unless there's something strange with the dependence on the tax return, which I talked about, or you're making an enormous amount of money, over $99,000 a year. Otherwise, you will get it. You may have to do an extra step, but I'm here. I'm not leaving you. When we go into middle July, this is going to be a big issue, how you get it. So I'm going to be guiding you through this process. Don't leave me. 10,000 new subscribers overnight, so I'm here to help every single one of you. I see your comments. The videos, I'm trying to keep them about 15 to 16 minutes. So what I'm trying to do is answer your comments online. If I miss your comment, send it again, and I will answer it. Normally, I would answer the comments on camera, but 350 comments on camera is really quite, the video would go 45 minutes. Coming up later today, 4 other second stimulus check videos, and I want you to watch them because a lot of them apply to you. The second one is hazard pay. The third one most likely is the third and fourth are critical to you if you're on SSDI or SSI. The third one is about unemployment benefits. And the fourth one is about rental assistance, a grant. And then the fifth one is finally about EIDL loans and grants. As always, stay with LA for more.